Welcome to Thursday Night Knives. I'm Bob DeMarco. Coming up, the Gentleman Junkie Knife giveaway knife for the month of December 2024 is pretty damn sweet. Probably the most special giveaway ever on the show. We're going to take a look at the gorgeous new coffin-handled Pocket Bowie XL from Auxiliary Manufacturing, and then its maker, Michael Jarvis of Auxiliary Manufacturing, will be joining us for a while tonight. Looking forward to that because tomorrow they are launching their coffin series of knives based on this here. This is the Pocket Bowie that came out last year around this time. I remember the family was in Deutschland visiting family, and I got a text from him saying he wanted to send one of these along to me. He was sending them to some of his favorite YouTubers and such, and I was so honored to be on that list. And this thing has been awesome, so amazing, and man, I was very excited to see that Pocket Bowie XL come out, and I've been loving OG Blade Reviews pictures. He's an amazing photographer anyway. He's had a couple of really beautiful postings up of that, and I think he just released a video tonight. And Justin Carvin, you know him as Tier 1 or DC Blades. Marco, how's it going, sir? Great to have you here. Evening, Bob, Jim, and Junkies, he says. Evening to you, sir. And Justified EDC, who's got an awesome channel and great taste in fixed blade EDC knives and, everyday defense knives. And I saw that he posted a video. I hadn't had a chance to look at anyone's videos because I've been working my butt off these days. Kind of liked it when I wasn't doing so much of that. Have a nice day. Good to have you here, sir. Food evenings, Junkalos. I know you meant good evening, Junkalos, but I'll take the food. I'll take that. We had tacos tonight. I make a pretty good taco. I mean, like old school tacos, like the kind you got in your lunchroom, with the ground beef and the shredded lettuce and the cheese. That's me. Oh, Jim, I can hear you. I think your mic's on. Sword XXY, good to have you here, sir. Good day, Bob, Jim, and Junkies, he says. Well, good day to you, sir. Ground Fog, nice to have you. I don't know if it's where you are, Sword XXY. That might be, yeah, it's daytime. It's nighttime here. Ground Fog, always a pleasure, sir, with your creepy-ass avatar. Dave, OG Blade Review, celebrating the birthday, the 3/4 of a century. I don't mind saying that because that was on your post. Happy birthday to you, my friend. I'm like I said, Dave. I want to be like Dave in 20 years when I'm his age. Evening, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Is tonight open coffin night? Oh, yes, it is, sir. Oh, sorry, I'm late for Halloween. Seriously, great to see Michael on. Yeah, he's an awesome cat. Very cool dude. He is on. Hang on, let me silence my phone here. Such a popular guy. He is on our Sunday interview show, so do check that out. We talk all about the coffin series and other awesome auxiliary manufacturing knives. OG Blade Review says, as an homage to auxiliary manufacturing today, I've carried the rotational basis, the XL Bowie, the bottle rocket. Oh my gosh, I love the bottle rocket. That's this. And Dave has an especially special version of this knife. Excuse me, the Carl Jr. and the Carl Sr. Now, I have neither of the Carls, and I would love to have a Carl. Right here, I got the broadhead, a sweet little push dagger that he makes, and you hang this around your neck, and it disappears. It's like you barely feel it, but it's capable and cool. We have Byron Splitting Slices. Nice to have you here, Byron. Howdy, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Thursday Night Knives. Looking forward to the show. Well, thank you, sir. I'm looking forward to delivering. Casey Pate, good to have you here, Casey. Hello, everyone. Well, hello, Casey. I like your little avatar there. Craig Vincent, always a pleasure, Craig. Evening, Bob, Jim, and executive exalters of extreme edges. Craig, you had one of our featured comments on the midweek supplemental last week. Thanks for watching and commenting. James Hart, good to have you here, James. I hope you got that tool roll you were looking for. Evening, everyone, he says. Well, good evening to you, sir. 5-Door. Greetings, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Coffin series looks awesome. Every version. Yeah, I agree. On the small side, I like the I'm really interested in the Spear Point and the Wharncliffe and I already have the Bowie. And the leaf shape is nice, but I'm definitely interested in that spear point. It looks kind of like a Kiradashi. Speaking of which, 5-door, you are number 5 on the Nova 2 list. Sent the engraving list to Matt today. Matt Chase of Hawktooth Knives. He is pulling into the station with the Nova 2s. He's going to be done with them pretty soon. I'm very excited about that. And by pretty soon, I mean he will be done by pre-Christmas. I'm pretty sure. Whether they will be in my hands, I'm not sure. Definitely, probably will not be to you until the new year. But he's just about finishing them up. He's got about, I think he's done with half of them. Mark Stallman, hello, Blade Junkies. Mark, hello to you, sir. Good to have you with us. James says, yep, got the tool roll, filled it, and it's on my bike. Good. How do you like it, James? I'm liking the whole tool roll concept in general. I dig it. And I like what Roaring Fire is putting out. 5-door. Thanks for the update, Bob. You got it, man. Let's see. Todd Carr, evening, everyone. Good evening to you, Todd. Great to have you here, as always. OG Blade Reviews says, Michael Jarvis and the Coffin series is tonight's TNK title. Really does sound catchy for a band. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Michael Jarvis and the Coffin series. It does indeed. Ooh, oh, got something wedged in the teeth. I can't stand when that happens. Well, here's a little preview of the knife we'll be talking about. Oh my gosh. Yes, that's right. I got it with the lace. Why not just show it right now? All right. This is the Coffin series. This is the XL Pocket Bowie, or Pocket Bowie XL. Here, I'll show it with its younger brother, smaller brother here. It's an inch extra on the blade, inch extra on the handle. And I got to say, what a difference an inch makes. This is a small knife, and this is a relatively big knife. You know, I've been carrying this in the waistband for the past 2 days at the 3 o'clock, and it feels great. This is one of the reasons why I opted for and was very excited to be granted the wrapped handle. I love wrapped handles, as you know. I love that ray skin, looks so beautiful. And I love the way it grips the hand and how thin it is. Relatively speaking, it fits in the belt very nicely. You can see the difference in thinness here. Let me hold it up like that. So when these drop, there are 12 different models you can get with these, because there is a thin and a thick Bowie, and then 4 models of the small and 1 model of this large, but they all have a G10, black G10 version, and a lace wrapped version. So all in all, that's 12. I'm assuming you're all getting all 12, but just in case you don't, and you're interested in carrying this thing in the waistband, I might suggest you get the wrapped version. Maybe it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's definitely mine. Driving and lurking, says the Knight's Edge. Well, it's good to have you here lurking. Lurking happens to be one of my favorite verbs and one of my favorite things to do. You can you can find out a lot about people if you just lurk long enough. Jacob Green, nice to have you here, Jacob. Greetings from Southern California. Oh, man, it's a beautiful place. Southern California. Haven't been there in many years, but had a lot of fun experiences there. Used my Victorinox Ranger Grip 79 today to trim my grandfather's lime tree. See what I mean? Lime tree, Southern California. And saw always comes in clutch when gardening. Oh yeah, the saw's on. Sorry guys, I'm getting a little sick, I can tell, and so I'll be sniffling all night. But yeah, I love the saws on the Swiss Army knives. James Hart says it is very well made, and the mesh pockets are great for holding the sockets I carry. So room for everything. Oh, that's cool. All right. I was wondering what I would use those mesh pockets for, and actually I haven't yet. Pardon me, guys. Haven't used them yet. But a socket is perfect for those because they don't have like a Velcro closure, but something that has that sort of shape will stay within the confines of that because of the seam, I bet. So pretty nice. Will B says, happy Thursday night knives, fellow junkies. Well, Will, always a pleasure, man. Hi, Jim, Bob, and junkies. And hello back to you, another gentleman junkie. Mark Stallman says, wow, Now we're talking awesome clip points. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah. I mean, awesome clip points galore. Do I have any awesome clip points out here besides the auxiliary manufacturing? Yes, I have this one. That is a pretty killer clip point. I love this Work Tough gear. I think they're releasing another run of these, if I'm not mistaken, but I do know that they're coming. They're on the 19th. They're putting out what's it called now? The Steadfast, which is really cool. A little more subtle knife than that, but it's also a cool clip point, much slenderer and useful. Looks very useful. Ouchie EDC, good to have you here. Howdy, he says. Well, howdy to you, sir. Wilby says, Bob, both of our twins are sick. Oh, man. And I'm coming down with it too. I feel you. Oh, that sucks, man. I think I got it from my wife, who has currently willed away her sickness. I've got too much to do on the weekend. And the funny thing is I'm always the one who's like, I'm not sick. I can't, no, I'm not sick because I don't want it to affect my lifestyle. Right. And she's always like, don't be in denial. And she's the one in denial and it works. So I got to go back to that. Jerry C, good to have you here, Jerry. Hello, Bob. I need to grow a beard as well. 20 damn degrees in Indiana. Yeah, that's why I only do it in the winter. It gets hot as hell here. And around April, I'm like, oh, get it off of me. But, oh, I love it in the winter. Just a high collar and a beard keeps a lot warm. Joseph S, good to have you here, Joseph. Throwing up those victory fingers or the bow and arrow fingers from, I don't know, England a long, long time ago when they were wiping out the French with the longbow. I think that's where they came up with this. Their bird is the two fingers, and I think that's what that refers to. Like, oh yeah, we defeated you with our longbow. So take it on the arches, pal. All right, I'm going to put this away until Michael comes on, and we'll talk much more about auxiliary manufacturing in a few minutes. But I do want to show you what we have lined up for the Gentleman Junkie knife giveaway for December. It is a very special Gentleman Junkie knife giveaway. And it's a Nova 1 straight from Massachusetts and Hogtooth Knives shop. This Nova 1 is in a bone handle and it is not numbered. It's not like the original Nova ones, which are just ever so slightly more special with their liners and their special color and the numbering. And but this one is really excellent. Also, this is a linen micarta, bone linen micarta. Very nice. It looks antique. It's not antique. I don't believe I didn't ask him, but I feel like he would have told me if it was a special antique linen micarta. So maybe next time I speak with him, I'll get that info. But I'm pretty sure this is just a really gorgeous bone micarta. Look at that run of jimping. So that's more jimping that I even have on my Nova 1. My Nova 1, of course, is the prototype. So the jimping was only back here. But man, 154 cm, deep hollow grind. You've got that acid stone wash. Fits in the hand. You've got big hands, it fits in your hands. You got small hands, it fits in your hands. Medium, that's me. It's perfect for medium hands. And Matt Chase has big old meat hooks, and it fits his hand just perfectly. So no matter who you are, the Nova 1 is for you. And if you want to become a Gentleman Junkie, this could be yours in a matter of 2 weeks on December 19th, approximately 10:30. That's usually when we give it away, except I usually start gabbing and lose track of time, so it might be a little bit later. Look at this edge. I don't know if I can really get it across on camera, but the edge looks beautiful, is wickedly sharp. Look at the ricasso. You can see the deep hollow grind. Not so deep that it's delicate or anything like that. These make great feather sticks. These are pretty damn good for carving. Actually, Matt's hollow grind on this and on the Nova 2 and on the EDC Tonto, the one that started it all, make really, really great feather sticks. And I know that because this was last year. I brought a whole bunch of folders out with me to feather stick as I was making a family fire pit. And none of them were really doing it. And I felt a little bit nervous, them being folders and stuff. I know. I know, maybe I was mother henning a little bit with the folders, but I decided to pull out the EDC Tanto, which has a similar hollow ground blade and same steel, same heat treat, and it just was amazing. And it was that point that I realized, well, I like hollow grinds for a lot of things, and now I like them for carving wood. And I'm sure that it's not ideal because you've got things like the Appleseed edge and the Scandi edge and all that. But man alive, does he do a nice grind? A zero ground swedge with a little bit knocked off. So it's definitely not a Scandi ground swedge, but you can see how thin that swedge is. So you need to back cut in that back alley knife fight. You'll be able to do it with this. So outstanding knife. I'm very, very excited to give this away. This is a special thanks to our patrons and to those of you who are gentlemen junkies for helping us keep the lights on. Very special thanks. So I'm looking forward to giving this away. And not for nothing, outstanding sheath. He makes great sheaths, both in leather. That's a hog tooth right there. And in Kydex. This Kydex pops off, shoots across the room. But not too much that if you have it in, for instance, your pajama waistband, that it's going to like pull your pants up around your ears when you try and draw it. So like the perfect Kydex sheath. Love that. Ouchie EDC says the family has been passing around upper respiratory infection. And I'm not laughing. That sucks. Stomach bugs and now a cold for the last month or so. In my area, they've had, and my older daughter had this walking pneumonia is what they're calling it. So I guess a little bit of fluid in the lungs, but that was pretty, actually, it wasn't that bad for her. We caught it early. My wife is like, I'm taking her to the doctor. She's got the sniffles. And I'm like, oh, come on, give me a break. And, immediately got the look. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Pretty much every time she's said I've taken them to the doctors, I'm like, oh, come on. And then they come back with some ailment that requires medication or something and is legit. So, sometimes there are certain things that you just have to throw up your hands and say, well, she's probably right. Whether or not I think, well, back in the day, I would have just, my dad was a physician and you had to have a bone sticking out of your skin for him to be like, oh, let me take a look at that. Otherwise, he'd be like, you're fine. Have a Knife Day says, I am growing a Colonel Lou Millet curled mustache this year. Like the one you had last year. That was super cool. He is famously known for getting a MOH. Not sure what that is in Korea. Oh, Medal of Honor in Korea for leading a bayonet charge. Thus the Bayonet Hill. Oh, locating. I think if I'm not mistaken, that was like the last recorded bayonet charge in U.S. military history. Am I right? And there wasn't much of that even in World War II. Am I right about that? I remember hearing something about the bayonet and that. I also remember hearing about a Marine. Some Marine Corps leader who was with his group of fighting men. I don't know what the size was. And they were surrounded. And he said, oh, look, this is great. We can shoot in all directions. Like it's a chance to take out everyone around us instead of being like, oh, no, we're surrounded, which I love. Stephen Clayton Jr., great to have you here, sir. Good evening, everyone, he says. Well, good evening to you. And is that a coffee? That's coffee. Stephen, I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's 53, but I am not drinking coffee tonight because I'm afraid that I won't sleep. Lately, I can't drink coffee as late as I always have, like all of a sudden. Not sure what that's about. Hopefully I'm not going through menopause, going through the change or something like that. But I like to be able to drink coffee late night. I'm just not doing it. Todd Carr says, definitely have to be careful when carving with a hollow grind, especially if it's a thin one. Side loading can be hell on an edge. Yeah. Sure. Now, granted, this was fire stick carving and it wasn't extended. It wasn't like I was doing it all day, but it took care of business. But I hear you. That's why you want a Scandi ground edge. Am I right? A lot more beef behind that edge. Have a Knife Day says, you are correct. He led several and was told to knock it off. Bad PR to have a Medal of Honor holder get killed. Yeah, no doubt. But, I mean, then why give him a bayonet if you don't want him to use it? My brother-in-law in Iraq in the early days, in I think it was 2003 or 4, very early days, had one experience where he was ordered to fix bayonets, and that was the one day he was like, "I'm not bringing this damn thing. It always gets stuck on the Humvee getting in and out, and I never use it." And that was the one day because they had a crowd kind of closing in on him, and they were like, they did civilian affairs kind of stuff, and people were not happy. And yeah, he was like, I carried it every day after that. He gave me the sheath. But someone stole the knife, so he gave me a new knife. James Hart, Marines and paratroopers are never surrounded, just in target-rich environment. Yes, that's exactly the way to look at it, and that's basically what that Marine colonel or sergeant or whatever was saying. Love that. Adrian Fighter 35, nice to have you here, sir. Good evening, Bob, Jim, and fellow junkies. Thumbs up, knife, cross knives, exclamation. Yes, that is the spirit, sir. I love it. All right, that said, it's time to get to a pocket check.
What's in his pocket? Let's find out. Here's the Knife Junkie with his pocket check of knives.
All right, today I was carrying the Pinkerton standoff. I know definitely that one person in this audience has one of these. This is a prototype of something that Dirk has been working on for about a year, and I think he's honing in. Which do you use? Both are appropriate, but they mean slightly different things. But in any case, he's been getting close to his finished design. So I am honored to have this prototype because I absolutely love it. I really, really love this knife. I've carried it a lot. And it's a true Wharncliffe. So you have that slope, continuous downward curve to the tip, which is down low on the straight edge. And so it looks like a Wharncliffe that you might see on an old school slip joint, just truncated and widened. And man alive, is this thing sharp as hell. Very sharp. That tip works great. I used this a lot. Let's see, I guess it was Sunday, pulling out decorations for Christmas. My ladies were out at the ballet with my mother-in-law. They went to see the Nutcracker Suite, and I was here all alone, cooking a fire, eating skewered hot dogs and putting up Christmas decorations. And every year when I'm putting them away, I zip tie them. Oh, it's a good excuse to use my knife next year. And this was great for slipping under the zip ties and just twisting and popping them off. But also this gets used for, I don't know, everything and anything I might need when it's in my pocket, which, you know, I don't live a high speed, low drag lifestyle, but this knife is so handy. And then if I get into a high speed, low drag situation, you know, it's very trusty. It's very stoutly built and titanium. And then you have this really broad chamfering that Dirk is known for. It makes it feel like it's contoured in hand without any of the roundness that might make it turn in hand. So it's flat and it's contoured at the same time. He's got a few changes coming to this when it pre-order goes up. He's going to sharpen the shoulders of that fuller there so that you can middle finger flick it more easily. I can, on good days, I can sort of finesse it, but basically it needs to be sharpened up a little bit on those fuller shoulders. But keep your eyes peeled, Dirk Pinkerton, and man, I'm so sorry. And get on his Instagram page because I know that he will be releasing information about this when it's time to pre-order it. And I will be getting another one for sure on that pre-order. I will jump on that and get a different coloration probably. It doesn't matter. This is one of those knives that's so good. I want two, you know, just in case, or for variety. All right, next up in my pocket, bouncing around left and right pocket, depending on where I had my phone, quite honestly, is one that I don't even put in a slip. This is the American Blade Works slip joint. That is the name, the American Blade Works slip joint. Such a good first slip joint. Here is another deep hollow grind. This one you can is really illustrated by the front. Looking at the front of the knife, you can really see that tapered wedge. Very sharp Magna Cut blade and titanium just stout enough that it doesn't feel like a weak spring, but doable for closing with one hand. But I don't like to do that too much because I've made mistakes before. Nice half stop and totally flat spring at the half stop. And it does use a stop pin to stop it. So it's not a traditional slip joint, it's a modern slip joint. Traditional slip joint, at least in my book and others' books, uses the kick part of an extended part of the ricasso to stop against the frame or the spring. This and modern slip joints, if you hear that term, refer to that stop pin in there. You can see right about there, that stop pin down there. Not sure why I used a Parker Jotter to point and not one of the many knives around me. I have a couple of daggery things, make good pointers. That's a great knife. Really love it. This is a good one that feels good in hand when it's closed. Well, it looks good too when it's closed, but this is one of those knives. I don't know if you have knives like this that you just kind of like to hold. And this is one of them. I think it's the texturing, the size, and the overall subtle curve of the back of the frame. Really nice knife. Very excited about that. And it was very inexpensive for a knife made by one man in his one-man shop in North Carolina, Georgia. Really, really nicely done. All right, next up, from the mind of Al Salviti. And I know that Stephen Clayton has one of these. Sorry, it's the Low-Vis. I love this knife, the Low-Vis. Now, you may have heard of the Colonel. That is a very, very, very similar knife. Why is it very similar? Because it was ripped off from Al Salviti, one of the guys that he brought on as a partner. You can hear this story in its entirety if you listen to the podcast that I recorded with him last week. But a guy that he brought on as a business partner while he was training Army guys and CIA guys and others in using knives like this. He brought a guy on, trusted him after a number of years. The guy snagged his patent and hooked up with, of all people, the warrior poet. You know that guy? And they went off and made money on the Colonel, called it the Colonel, not their design, and kind of took it from Al Salviti. And not to be talking out of school, but warrior poet, I've watched him a bunch, and he's very Christian. He's very Christian, except when it comes to patents. I think his Christianity runs out right before making money on someone else's design. So that's very unfortunate. You can see a long interview with that guy. I can't remember his name now, on the Sean Ryan show. Sean Ryan, I love that guy. I love his interviews. And actually, this dude had told some interesting stories. But it's kind of like, can you believe him? I'm sure he's a badass. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, he was very strident in his heroic stories. And after hearing the heroism that went into helping steal the Colonel or the Regiment Blade's Low-Vis to make the Colonel, I'm kind of turned off. Let me say, this knife, man alive, this carries so well. Let me show you in the sheath like this, right in the waistband and over kind of more on my right side. And it draws so easily. It's kind of stout here, but it draws so easily. And then I have a trainer around here. It's over there. And if you practice with the trainer, you get really good at drawing this. It's very easy to draw. The idea is to teach someone in a short period of time how to use this knife. And if you can punch even vaguely, you can use this knife. So I love the Low-Vis. I'm a real fan of it. I got to be 100% honest. I always thought it looked a little goofy. And then I got it in hand. It was like, oh, okay, I get it. And that's happened a number of times with different knives for me. So sometimes seeing is believing, but other times feeling, experiencing, wielding, and carrying is believing. All right, last up is this here. I had the Pony Stout from Devo Knives. That's Colin Maison-Pierre of CM Designs, and of course, Lefty EDC. They came together. Well, they have this incredible company called Devo Knives, and this is one of my favorite of their designs. And actually, I just saw they Traditional Pocket Knives is releasing the stout version 2. I'm not sure if that is just with traditional pocket knives or if that's something that's going far and wide. But it's the large version of this, the stout, with some really cool, fancy carbon fiber handles and such. I love this knife. I haven't carried this in quite a while, and it just fits in the back pocket so easily. It's one of those knives that my left hand loves. I can just do this all day long, and it's a great cutter. Another hollow grind, and yeah, that's what I had with me today. Almost all black carry with the silver thrown in just for flair. So that's what I had. What did you have? Let me know. I want to hear it. I want to know what you were carrying, and well, as you do, I will show you this. The low vis folder is called the Auto Lock. Now, the Auto Lock came about. Al Salviti. Hey, Knives are life. Good to have you here, sir. Howdy, sir. He says. This came about when he's like, well, most people carry folders. I need to make a folding version of the low vis. He had Fox Knives doing one, and Fox Knives really botched the lock, and he was testing it out. There's a video you can see of him testing it out, and it closes on his finger, almost cuts his damn finger off. It's amazing. And so he decided we gotta A, he went with a different company, and B, we got to make this lock more robust. So there's a lock here on one side and a lock on the other. And it is definitely not fidgety. You're not going to be flipping this in and out like a fidget queen or kings. I know we have a lot of kings here, but it is going to stay open when you open it. And now I will also say I'm a fidgeter, as you saw with the pony stout. I love that, but some things are not for fidgeting. And this is how Al opens it. And so that's how I open it now. It's easy to do, actually. Pull it out of your pocket. It's naturally in this position, and you just hit that big finger ring on the other side, and it pops open. It's so cool. Love this thing. And I've seen Steve Price use this in practice, and man, I would not want to come up against him in a dark alley with one of those. But he's a very nice guy, so I'm sure he wouldn't do anything anyway. Todd Carr says convex would be the strongest, then a Scandi. As far as lateral pressure and holding up to abuse, I'd say that, then your saber and flat grinds. Yep. Followed by hollow. Yes. Exactly. Like hollow grind. There's a reason why that's on straight razors, is because it's so thin and acute. So, yeah, maybe the hog tooth, maybe when I say deep hollow grind, maybe I'm overdoing it. Definitely hollow ground, but did not in any way feel like a Civivi hollow grind, which is so thin. I wouldn't feel comfortable feather sticking with that, for instance. But these hog tooths, hollow ground, but stout. Craig Vincent says, Bob, I have an Ontario SPA on the way. Not sure what that is. Want to try it for bushcraft. Last week, I got the SP1 and my Magna Cut Rat 1.5. How cool. I didn't know they made one in Magna Cut. Should be here tomorrow. Glad to see Ontario didn't fold with the new owners. I like what you did there. Fold, because you're talking about the rat and the fold. Yeah, me too. I'm glad they didn't either. They didn't have a very long time laying fallow, actually, which was nice. Mark Salva says, good evening to y'all. Stay sharp. Head on a swivel. Thank you, Mark Salva. Head on a swivel. Fists on repeat. That's mine. I told my daughter that. I thought it was the cleverest, coolest thing. I'm like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you get it? She's like, yeah, Dad, I got it. I thought it was cool. Anyway, Jesse, good to have you here, Jesse. You know, I tell people, Jesse, now I don't want you to take this the wrong way. It's very likely that you may, but don't. I've told my daughters, no Jessies. Jessies are trouble. Girl or boy, Jessies are trouble. Jessica and Jesse, just, bring them home for me to vet them first. And that's only because, you know how you're in second grade and there's a guy named Scott who's a dick, and you're like, man, I hate Scots. All Scots. Scott is ruined for me. That's kind of Jesse for me, but Jesse's not a jerk. Jesse's just kind of trouble. And that has been really good and fun at some parts of my life, and then really destructive and bad in other parts. So, Jesse, I think you're the good kind. But still, I bet you're a little bit of trouble, and that's good. We should all be just a little bit of trouble. Anyway, I'm babbling. Autumn Wind, nice to have you here. Hello, all, says Autumn Wind. Hello to you. And I know you've been saying hello here, and you have turned into Winter Wind. It's damn cold here. Ghost Keep. I got to say it every time because there's a song I like called Ghost Keeper. It's good to have you here. That is sexy. Oh, you talking about this? I don't know. I feel like every knife I've shown off fits that bill on this evening. Okay, Stephen Clayton, let's hear it. I know you have a low vis, right? I thought you did. Wait. Yeah, okay. So R.A. Scourge, TKL Knives Agent 001, 002, and 003. Love your style, sir. The Raider, the Taylor's Ridge, the Combatant. These are all TKLs, if you're wondering. The Adversary. Cannot wait to get my Adversary. The FLN, the Guardian, the Night Guard 2.0, the Night Stalker Combat Grade, the Night Hawk, the Accomplice, the Gideon V3, the Piranha, and the Wingard Wearables Micro Dick Pic. Very nice, Carrie. And I'm sorry. I tell everyone this every week, just in case you don't know. Stephen Clayton actually carries all this stuff on his person, and it's not weird. It's not awkward. I met him in person with his son. Very awesome meeting both of them. But I was like, Stephen, really? Do you carry them all? And he's like, psh. And he was like, I think he was wearing a vest and a short sleeve shirt. So like not a lot of room to hide these things, but they were all very subtly placed on his body. He had them all. I think at the time he had several FLNs on him. So that was pretty impressive. Donald Fry, nice to have you here, Donald. Evening, Bob, Jim, and fellow junkies. Late to the party, but happy as always to join in. Hey, Donald, I think you're only really technically fashionably late. Besides the auxiliary manufacturing fixies today, carried a North Mountain Blades Chop 2. I think I know what that is. Is that a Tonto with a hamon? And if not, I'll feel a little embarrassed because that's kind of a specific thing. CKF Echo Splinter, Civivi Pyrus. I don't know that one. Pinkerton Ringed Inversion. Nice choice. Microtech Combatant Troodon. Oh, I'm sorry. Microtech Combat Troodon. That's the big one. In Tonto. And the Nightcore EDC 23. Very nice. Man. Oh, wait. Okay. CKF. I don't know the Echo Splinter, but I really like CKF. So I don't know. We'll find out what the Echo Splinter. Echo. There's an H in there. Michael seems to be a little late. We'll find out what's happening with him. But just spoke with him the other night, and he'll be here on Sunday. So in other words, what I'm saying is I'm sure he's just fashionably late. Ouchie EDC says, that's wild. I have one of those and I wanted the original design. I think you're talking about I think you are also talking about this. I might be wrong though. Which one is it, Ouchie? Now I got to know. Have a Knife Day says, I carried the Cold Steel Black Sable. So cool. At last night's 82nd Airborne Association Christmas party last night. Yeah, he's supposed to be. Yes, Jim. 82nd. Okay, and that's also your number on the Nova 2, the 82 out of 14. Stephen Clayton Jr. says, wow, changes the perception of WPS. WPS. What's WPS? Oh, Warrior Poet Society. Well, listen to the interview. Just hear Al talk about it. I shouldn't be talking about it. It wasn't my experience, but yeah, it changed my perception too a little bit. Then again, sometimes people seem a little too good to be true, and then they end up being that way. So maybe it's a case of that also. They say don't meet your heroes. Not that I met the guy, but don't find out about your heroes. OG Blade Review says also regiment blades on the way. Yes. Oh, in the hands of Dave. That'll be cool. And also not only that, but in and amongst your epic collection of knives. That'll be cool. Will B says, Bob, Mike Emler and I were talking earlier, and he wanted me to ask you the thoughts of the prototype. Oh, I told him all about it, and I have it here, actually. I'm going to show it off. I'll show it off right now. I think it is really awesome. There are a couple of changes here. That is going to be gone. And there was one other very minor change. But what I absolutely love about this knife, first of all, it's made by a company called Katsu, and that company can make an amazing knife. I mean, amazing folder. This thing is just butter, and it's beautiful, very, very well made, very sturdy, and it has really cool materials. Now, he sent me pictures of the other, like Lava Flow, which is one of my favorite carbon fibers from these guys, and Arctic Storm. And then I don't remember what this black, gray, and white one is called. And then there's a fourth one, but this is his Habu. And if you know anything about Mike, he's a big fan of the convex grind. He does a lot of sharpening and sharpening by hand. And he also spent many years of his deployment in Japan, in Okinawa. And he's a big dude. He's kind of a Viking kind of guy. Very, very big. So this knife is nice and big. That's like a 4-inch blade with a huge choil. I could do without the choil. That's my one thing. If I were to change one thing about that, I would have the blade continue up to here and just have a sharpening notch. That's an aesthetic choice on my part. It's not like I use a knife like this so much that I would, not want the choil there because I'm missing the cutting edge. But the real USP of this, the unique selling proposition of this, is that grind. That is a convex grind, not only at the edge, but along the entire blade. It's not like a flat ground blade that becomes convex at the edge. The whole freaking thing is convex. Like some Bark River knives, like some custom convex knives, and just, man, a dream in the hand. So I am absolutely loving this knife, and I'm very honored that he sent this to me. I know he's going to send, I'm going to send this off to Jim Skelton when I'm done with it. There's his maker's mark right there. M.E. Mike Emler. Crazy Sharp. He goes by Crazy Sharp on YouTube, and that's his sharpening business. This feels great in hand. And if you guys, any of you guys out there have big giant mitts, this will be outstanding for your big giant mitts. This thing is awesome. Yeah, look at that. All right, I'm going to set that down for a moment. And here, while I do this, let me set out something for y'all to look at. I'm gonna text the old Michael Jarvis, make sure he's not in a ditch somewhere, as my mom would say.
Adventure Delivered. Your monthly subscription for hand-picked outdoor, survival, EDC, and other cool gear from our expert team of outdoor professionals. TheKnifeJunkie.com/BattleBox.
The Shockwave Tactical Torch is your ultimate self-defense companion, featuring a powerful LED bulb that lasts 100,000 hours, a super sharp crenulated bezel, and built-in stun gun delivering 4.5 million volts. Don't settle for ordinary. Choose the Shockwave Tactical Torch. TheKnifeJunkie.com/Shockwave.
That is, what you just heard was AI Jim. I don't know if you remember Jim's name, but not Jim's name, if you remember Jim's voice, but that is Jim's voice missing a little bit of the human panache. Let me just put that. Excuse me for a second. Okay. Okay. Now, I guess my one caveat is I guess I could understand if he's like, his drop is tomorrow. So maybe he's, in the last minute throes of getting stuff together. But it wouldn't be the first time I was left at the altar, jilted. Do you know that word, jilted? Hopefully you don't. Hopefully you do not know that word. But in any case, with the Mike Emler Habu, I'm not sure what Habu means. I think he may have told me. But when you talk to Mike on the phone, and he's a great guy and a great conversationalist, he does say a lot of stuff. And so sometimes you might miss a thing or two, but just outstanding build from this company, Katsu. Do you guys know Katsu? I'm not sure if you do. I hadn't heard of them. I mistook them for a couple of other kind of Japanese companies that I don't quite know. And he compares this to kind of an EDC version of a Rockstead in terms of this company's build quality. So that's pretty high marks. I've never handled a Rockstead, but I know how well respected they are. Todd Carr says, Leatherman Scourge and accessories, Gerber dime and shard, Swiss Army knife Fieldmaster, Cold Steel 8010, Real Steel Pathfinder, CJRB Small Centros 5th Pocket, and Artisan Sea Snake. That's a Mike Emler design right there. Olight I3T. Always have that on my keys. And Arkfeld UV, Rovi Von A3, and a Hank. That's quite complete. That's a good rounded out EDC. For me, it's like a bunch of knives and then like, oh yeah. Frequently, I'm trying to carry this all the time, and I usually forget it. But this is an awesome Zippo that my brother gave me many years ago in the 90s, and it's got Vargas, a Varga girl on there. You know, one of those pinup girls from back in the day. Very, very nice and fun Zippo. Paul Mills says, Bob DeMarco. Oh, no, it's this, the Cornuto, and applause. Well, man, it's good to have you here, man. Ghostkeeper says, what is that Pinkerton knife called? It's called the standoff, like the thing that they hang bombs on the bottom of airplane wings, or maybe the distance you take between you and your adversary, or standoff could have a lot of different meanings. But yeah, this thing is so sweet. So keep your eyes peeled for this. I know he's experimenting with different treatments in terms of milling and stuff. I love this very clean look. He's doing some really cool stuff, experiments with sort of a gravel road texture. That looks really nice. Autumn Wind says, oh, CKF Evo. Yes, that's the CKF that really turns me on. That Evo is so cool. And the GEC 15 cap lifter today. That's so funny. Well, it's not that funny, but I was carrying the 15 crown lifter a couple of days ago. That was a week ago, actually. That was for Thanksgiving. I think I had it, and a couple of days after, because I was like, oh, maybe there'll be bottles of beer here, and I can open them up. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Hey, Bob, what's up with the proto? I was just waxing poetic about it and showing everyone this because Will B mentioned it. I'll bring it back out. The gentleman who designed this full convex blade, not just the edge, but a full convex blade, Mike Emler, just chimed in. So yeah, man, I am loving this thing, and it is really, really, really well made by this company, Katsu, who I was saying I had never really heard of or thought I hadn't heard of, but that you kind of equate with Rockstead, or maybe a more pedestrian version of Rockstead, meaning something you're slightly less afraid to carry because you just want to carry it and use it. And with this convex bevel and edge, so cool. I gave my 2 cents. I gave my 2 cents about it. I'm never a huge finger choil fan, but I totally get why it's there. I would have the blade come all the way back and have a little notch there, for more cutting, because I cut all the time with my blades. That's sarcasm. And I was also mentioning how nice and generous the handle is, and how that probably has something to do with the fact that its designer is a freaking Viking. All right, Hero Sticks, evening and cheers, Bob and all. Well, evening to you, Hero Sticks. It's great to have you here. Been out of the mix a while, yep, but it's great to be back, and it's great to have you back. for the best live show of the week. Hero Sticks is an awesome stand-up guy. He has sent me so many great knives for me to check out in the past, and I'm very grateful to that. Some things that I was curious about and then got to experience and then bought. Things that I was curious about, got to experience, was like, I don't need to buy this. And then things I'd never heard of or seen, he's sent me, and great collection and a stand-up dude. Paul Mills had the Mordax and the ABW slip joint today. Great minds think alike, Paul. I was just talking about this. Oh, I have that. Matt, how's it going? We have Mattisfaction. Good evening, all. Well, good evening to you, sir. Another designer of a fantastic knife. Jacob Green, you know that I wish I had Jesse's girl. Yeah, don't we all? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's where it came from. Hero Stick says Pinkerton Custom Smilodon. Very nice. Dave has a Smilodon. And the Boker Bad Guy Giant Slip Joint today. So that's one of the knives that I had never seen and was designed by a French guy, I think. And when you loaned that to me, it was very cool. And well, it was great to have it. Smilodon. Someone's been posting a really, really cool and big Smilodon recently. Who is that? I think Alex. I think you don't need to see me go through that. Spyderco Native Chief says 5-door and the Prince Protean. That is cool. The Princeton Wong is a really great maker, and that Protean is beautiful. That is a beautiful knife. He also made that really cool, innovative knife that he licensed to CRKT that has a bolster that flips up, and inside that, hidden inside that, is a wine key. And it's actually an articulated wine key. The lever bar is, or no, it's non-articulated. So you don't have all the moving parts. Very, very nice knife. He's a cool dude, that guy, Princeton Wong. He started out customizing Porsches for like street racing and ended up making some of the coolest and classiest knives out there. Craig Vincent says Cold Steel 8010 in titanium. Very nice. The Swift 3, the Frenzy 2, the 4MAX Scout, the XL Voyager Tonto serrated, Spyderco S35VN titanium tenacious, the CMB Predator, the Keimano. I don't know what that is. Keimano. And the Tucson TS314. Only God knows which one that is. God and Craig Vincent. And I say that because I can't keep up with the Tucsons. I think they're all cool. Most of them are cool, very unique, beautifully built, but the naming convention, that just has me baffled. Ouchie EDC says, I have a Colonel knife. Oh, do you? No, I'm just kidding. Do you like it? Do you like the form? I mean, it's basically very, very similar to this. I'm sure there are some slight differences, but how do you like the way it feels? Do you like this kind of knife, this style of knife? It's very intuitive, and I know it's very much about thrusting and punching with, but I posit it makes an excellent slasher too, or deep cutter because of that angle. The Echo Splinter is one of the new budget line. Looks a bit like a Liangma Trinity, says OG Blade Reviews. Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate that. I'm gonna have to check that out. Ow! I totally missed the sheath because I wasn't looking and stabbed my thumb. Paul Mills, cool knife, but the guy behind it, not so much. Yeah, I'm not sure which one you're talking about now. Maybe you're talking about the Colonel. Oh, yeah, that's probably what you're talking about. OG Blade Review says, you were right about the Chop 2, the Tonto with the Haman and the button lock. That is a gorgeous knife. I really like that. And that kind of came out of nowhere. Not Okinawa, Kyushu. Oh, okay. My apologies, sir. Kyushu. Is that one of the islands? Wait, I used to know the islands. Hokkaido, Honshu, Kyoku, and something else. The 4 main islands. Is that the other? Is that the fourth that I can't remember? Or is that a city? It's in the south, right? Anyway, as we can tell, I don't know. Donald Fry says, been stimulating the old school market lately. Case Barlow, nice. And $3 knives, the 110 and 2 112s. 112s are nice. I took mine upstairs. Soft spot in my heart for these patterns. Yes, indeed. And Billy Ford recently put up a video. Why does everyone hate Buck so much? And I think some of that has to do with their steel. The steel is not always the best because it's 420. Yes, it has the Paul Boss heat treat, but Jesse says the convex grind looks great. I couldn't agree more. Looks great, and the whole thing just feels great in hand. It looks beautiful too. James Hart says, wasn't feeling very good today. Yep. So I experimented with wrapping the sheath of my tactical Tonto with paracord. I think I did a pretty good job. Now, to what end, sir? Is that because I have a couple of knives that I did that with many years ago, and I bet if I took and I did that because I'm like, what if I'm out and I have this knife and I need the paracord? But the funny thing is it was on an OSS by Cold Steel, so it's a sub-hilt loveless fighter. So it's not the kind of knife I'd have out in a survival situation. And now I bet if I unwrapped it, the paracord would probably just fall apart. It's been on there for like 12 years at this point. Todd Carr says, but so I'm interested. Let me know, why was it for grip, or grip of the sheath, or was it for that sort of eventuality where you might need it for other purposes like a ridge line or whatever? Todd Carr says, Bob, if you don't smoke or require it for making fires, Zippos makes a bit set and hold. Oh, that's cool. Holder into Zippo lighters. They are 1/4 inch bits as well. Well, that's cool. Actually, I think I've seen that quite recently. But the fire, I like the fire aspect of it. And, this one is one of those inserts which needs to be filled. But I like the fire aspect of it. You know what I mean? Hello, friend, says an American father. Awesome to have you here, sir. An American father. Dwayne Letterman, nice to have you here, Dwayne. Howdy, Bob, Jim, and everyone. So American father and Dwayne, let us know what you were carrying. As I sip on this dihydrogen oxide, or oxygen hydrogen dioxide. Jesse says manganese, steel kimono, probably. Wait. So is this manganese like Sharif manganese? Because if so, he's going to be coming on the show soon. I'm looking forward to that. He seems like a real Fieldworks. Yes, that's who's been. Yeah, Alex of Fieldworks has been posting about the Pinkerton Large Smilodon, just like mine, except double edge. Oh, I thought yours was the Tonto. I'm sure you have several, but I'm thinking of yours that's more of a Tonto edge. His Tonto profile, and his has a long, very thinly tapered. So cool. But yeah, that's exactly who it is. And I think he's got like Ranger bands or something on it, to make it ever more tactical. If anyone needs that, it's him. An American father says Spyderco Matriarch 2, Rat 1, and Rat 7. Very nice. That's very well rounded out carry. From the absolutely got to kill them to the absolutely got to survive in the wilderness. I like that. James Hart says, well, it's around the sheath / saya. I'm not sure what that is. And is to help hold the sheath. Oh, in your belt. That's great. Okay. Since you just tuck it into your belt. That's cool. Okay. So it's kind of A, adding friction, but more importantly, B, widening it out so it doesn't slip through your belt. That's cool. I like that. That's what I should have done, or maybe should do, with the knife that I was telling you about that I have paracord on. That actually might work. I don't know what is. We'll see. We'll see if Michael Jarvis is asleep at his bench, or he's not asleep at his bench. I know he's probably boxing stuff up. Anyway, Victor Blades, good to have you here, Victor. Hello, Bello. Okay. Que se dice? My Italian. Cutting dried salami today with my Griffin Co. X bolster. I love it, cutting salami. Lock, fantastic knife. Got my GEC number 47 Viper handy as well. That Viper, that's really the knife that years ago Really got me stoked about slip joints. Hope you're doing well. Love the show. Victor, I'm doing great. It's great to have you here. And it's so, first of all, my wife calls me Bello, so that's nice. But also Victor. It's such a familiar name because of all my family members, besides myself and the women, are called Victor. Craig Vincent says, Bob, while you're on the Mora exploration, you might try the Cans Bowl 90-degree spine. Okay. I just got the carbon, the carbon steel, which kind of looks like the Cans Bowl a little bit. Or no, I'm thinking of the Garberg. Okay, the Cans Bowl. I'm going to have to get that one then. Yes, Sharif, says Jesse. Thank you for the Mora recommendation. I really like them. And plus, it's great to really like a knife, like to use it, especially I don't feel bad about banging around with it outside. But then also that they're so inexpensive. I've been having interesting issues with my BPS knives. That 1066 seems to chip pretty easily. And I'm not even aware when it's happening. So I might be more headed at this point. Craig Vincent says, love Sharif, have 3 of his designs. I've only experienced them. I believe actually Hero Sticks has sent a number of them to me to check out. Ghostkeeper says, I have the Mangana Steel Kaimano in purple haze. Oh, is the Kaimano the one that's like a harpoon tanto with the opening hole? Oh, okay. So this is on the way. Look it up. So sick hollow dual harpoon grind. $220, only like 7 remaining. Spoke to designer Sharif. Very, very cool. Yeah, okay. I think we're thinking of the same knife. That is a beauty. And that one has a bolster, right? Very nice. Yeah, he seems like a mensch too. Will B says, I had my ProTech TR4, Riot Exo, Microtech Hera 2, TKL Knives Night Stalker in CQC, Heretic Slight, Olight Baton 3, Terrace Bolt V2, and a Dawson Wilderness in my back pocket. Very cool. A Dawson. Dawsons are cool. I don't have a Dawson. Haven't even experienced them, though. They were great to talk to here on the show. I love their swords. I love that they make swords and short swords, long swords, but all sorts of really cool fixed blade knives in terms of survival, EDC, camping, and definitely some more tactical designs that are pretty awesome. Okay, well, let me do this. Let me show you some cool new knives I got. Maybe he shows up. Maybe Michael Jarvis shows up. Maybe he doesn't. If he doesn't, I'll show off this again. But I want to show you some other really slick things that showed up on my door. One of them from my good buddy Paul Bowl. No, that's a writer. What? Doug Bull. Doug Bull. I'm sorry, Doug. This is something he sent along because he sent me the sheath to here. I'll show you the sheath too. I've been showing this off a lot recently. The Forest Bowie. Well, he sent me the sheath, and man, it's a beautiful leather sheath. I love the tooling on it, sort of a traditional Western look to it. And then the knife just slides beautifully in and out. And what I really like about this sheath, yes, I was wearing it on my belt as I was making dinner, just to see how it fits, testing the cut of its jib and all that. And what I really like about it is it's not much larger than the knife itself. It fits nicely in there, but it slides in and out. You don't need a hand to hold it down. It's a big blade and it hangs on a belt loop. So if the knife fits too tightly into the sheath, well, then you got to hold it down or strap it to your leg or some such nonsense. And this kind of goes in and out really easily. And so I'm a big fan. Thank you so much for this sheath, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Doug is a stand-up guy. And in the sheath, he sent this. This is a Skian Du, the black knife. I think that's what that stands for. Pardon me. Or small knife. What does it stand for, people? Let me know what that is. It's Gaelic or Scottish. I don't know if those are the same things. Now I'm just talking talking totally out of school, but a beautiful modern ski and do here with very nice wooden handle, feels great in hand, and that really outstanding Damascus, looking beautiful. And then on the spine, you have that traditional file work that also acts as jimping. So it's decorative and purposeful at the same time. Has a fuller there and not much of an edge. Now, Doug did a lot to put an edge on it, and he got it a lot of the way there. But I think in order to really get an edge, a good cutting edge on this, I'm going to have to back up that edge quite a bit because it's pretty darn thick down there. So you can see it's kind of convexed and V'd at the same time. Like the blade is convex, at least down here. So pretty fat behind the edge, but this is kind of the sort of knife that I'm not going to mess too much with because he said the steel is very, very hard. He's done a lot to try and work on this. So I don't necessarily want to do too much work, like say with my grinder. I have a 2x48 cheesy little Craftsman grinder that can do some work like this, but I'd be afraid of ruining it. So maybe, just maybe, I'll use the sandpaper convexing method and just put sandpaper of varying grits, starting with a higher grit on my strop, tape it to my strop or staple it around my strop, and then do that sort of stropping motion, but it will get nicely convexed. This comes from Jim. Thank you, Jim. The term ski and do is a Scottish Gaelic phrase that translates to black knife. The word skian means knife, dagger, or blade, and doob means black. Oh, okay. The term may also be interpreted as hidden knife because they carried it in their sock, because doob can also mean hidden in Gaelic. This is interesting because I don't know if any of you guys were into U2, the band, before they started sucking, like after Joshua Tree, in my opinion. But in the 80s, early and mid 80s, U2 was like an awesome band and alternative and the whole thing. My sister was into them. She had crushes on all of them when they were young. And so I got into them because she was my older sister. And that's when you have older siblings, that's how you get into music. So early U2 was really good. And they were Irish, or are Irish, and they had a song called An Cat Doob, and it was like the black cat or something like that. At least that's what I always took it to mean, or knew it to mean, from my research on U2 at the time. And so that makes sense when Jim, when you put that there. Anyway, thank you so much, sir, for the terminology and explanation. Jacob Green says, I actually use a Mora Cansbull as my main fishing knife when I go saltwater fishing. It's been submerged in seawater and has not rusted. Man, those Swedes, they know what they're doing. The Cansbull. Now I gotta look that up because I can't remember exactly which design that is. I mean, they all approach the same thing, but they're different. They're the same but different, like Hollywood movies. So Cansbull. All right, I'm gonna have to find that. And the Garberg I like because it's full tang, or I want to like because it's full tang. And I hear you can, and the tang that protrudes is also 90 degrees, and you can draw you can throw sparks on it. Will B says the Arizona copper finish is great on my Dawson. But honestly, I think their sheaths suck. I'm going to have one made. So are they Kydex or leather, Will? What are we talking about here? Or is it like Tops where they just kind of, on some of their models, they give you sort of a kind of complimentary courtesy sheath, one of those Spec Ops, nylon things, which fit a number of different blades and aren't custom to any blade in particular. Is it like that? Paul Mills says, love the look of that Damascus. Yeah, I don't have too much Damascus. And that's another thing that I'm very appreciative of, is that Doug sent me this, because the Damascus and that wood is gorgeous too. Anyone have any inkling of what kind of wood that is? Will be Kydex. It's carbon fiber looking Kydex, but the quality isn't great. That stinks. I think that can be a big sticking point with a knife. Oh, if anyone knows what kind of wood that is, please chime in. Let me know. That can be a huge sticking point here. We were talking auxiliary manufacturing in the hopes that Michael will come. But he does really great sheaths. I don't know if you saw this pop right off, but the bottle rocket sheath is really, really, really great. And fits the knife perfectly and then pops right off easily. I like retention that's good enough to make the sheath pop off, but also that is easy to draw without pulling your pants up. So this is a great time to show again this Bowie. This thing is so cool. The Pocket Bowie XL. This is another one with a great sheath. But really, the star of the show is that blade. The long curved swedge, almost Persian blade. I like to say I'm very fond of it's a thin line. Remember, it's a thin line between love and hate. Well, it's a thin line between Persian and clip point. Right here. Jim has to hear me say all this stuff the most because I know you all don't watch every show, but Jim has to watch every show. So I say this enough. Sorry, Jim, I'm going to say it again. It's a thin line between clip point and Persian. Look at this. This is a Bowie. This is a clip point, but it's so far up that it resembles a Persian blade. Dirk Pinkerton does a lot of that in his knives. I'm thinking of the Banjara right now. That is sort of a clip point, sort of a Persian. I know it's much more Persian than clip point, but if you look at it, yeah, the resemblance, or not the resemblance, but all of the defining features are there. It's just that the spine is very short, the swedge is very long. Oh man, this carries so well too. Especially, I'm loving the lace, as I mentioned, the wrap cord, and right here in that coffin shaped handle. Really beautiful. Will B says, after TKL and Hogtooth, I'm very excited on sheath quality. Ooh, yeah. Hogtooth, like I said, awesome. And same thing with TKL. Here's my one somewhat lacking sheath from TKL. I think this was a difficult one to do, but I've seen others with theirs and they pop right off. This one I had to do a little bit of tweaking. I had to hit it with the heat gun and then clamp it a little bit with pliers to get it to hold a little better. But this one, you don't want to hold too much because it sits on your belly at kind of an odd angle. But if you've got a belly, it can sit on the right or left of your belly and draw easily. Just be careful you don't cut said belly with that curved knife. Pat D's nuts. Good to have you here, Pat. Made it. Got the flu, so no work. Oh man, I hope that's not what's happening to me. Glad to spend a little time with my fellow junkies. Well, it's good to have you, Pat. And it's funny, a guy that I work with was diagnosed with COVID on Monday. And he's like, I came into his room and he's like, oh, let me mask up. I'm like, all right, you can mask up for your sake, but he was like, oh, I got COVID on Monday. And it's so funny the difference a few years makes, because it'd be like, oh my God, I can't come to work for 3 weeks, and I have to close my shop and the world has to end. And now it's just like, it's like a cold. Macho, good to have you here, Macho Blades. Hey, Bob. Hey, junkies. Hope everyone's having a good night. I'm having a great night. Macho, how you doing, man? I'm loving he makes such cool knives. If you guys don't know, check out Macho Blades. He's been on the show, and we had a great conversation about the stuff he was working on. And then shortly, actually, while you were on the show, you were just starting work on your dagger. Such cool stuff. He's had some of his designs licensed with Kaiser, as you remember, and the shark knife, but also that cleaver EDC. Very cool stuff. So Macho, it's awesome to have you here, man. Oh yes. Join us on Patreon. Let me show you one more time. Since we were talking Hogtooth and we're talking clip points here, the line between Bowie and Persian is not so thin on this one. This is a Bowie knife all day long. It's just small. It's not a 1/4 inch thick, 10-inch long Bowie, like is what is technically considered a Bowie, but it's got all the spirit. Yet you can put it in your pocket or put it in your waistband, and it's like you're a modern day renegade, let's say. Yeah, I like that. Slight recurve, definitely not difficult to sharpen. That recurve I put there not only because I love recurves and they accelerate the cuts and all of that, but also as you use this knife over years and it's meant to be used, you will probably do most of your cutting right there at the sweet spot. So as you sharpen, you will probably be removing more from that portion. So in the spirit of many a slip joint that gives you a little bit of a recurve on the clip point blades, that is to be kind of sharpened through over the years. So very, very happy to be offering this as the December 2024 Gentleman Junkie knife giveaway knife on December 19th right here. And then you've got your antique looking bone linen micarta. No spacers on this one. And great in reverse grip. Just melts in the hand and nothing extra to grab onto if you're an adversary who knows what he's doing and you're in the hypothetical knife fight. So there you go. Do check it out and become a Gentleman Junkie. And people have been known to become Gentleman Junkies for a short period of time because they're very interested in a knife. No one frowns upon that, least of all myself. Peterbilt Knife Guy, good to have you here, sir. Good evening, he says. Ooh, I like what you got in your picture there, and I'm digging your videos. Peterbilt Knife Guy does a lot of testing and myth busting, which I appreciate. Macho Blades, thanks, Bob. Been doing good work. Sorry. You wrote it. I'm not going to editorialize. Thanks, Bob. Been doing good. Getting ready for Blade Show Texas right now. Will you be going to that show? I have to remind my wife that last year she said I should go because I want to. That's in February, right? That is a dope giveaway. Thanks, Macho. Appreciate that. It's in February, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, that is something I will be able to do. I have to just get on the ball now and do it. But fundage and time, the funds I think I've got. It's the time I gotta make sure I have. But we make time for what's important, as they say. That always makes me feel guilty because there are plenty of things that are important to me that I don't. Maybe I just don't spend enough time on them. March 7th and 8th. Thank you, Jim. March 7th and 8th. I am going. I am there. Consider me there. I'm already gone, just like the Eagles say. Yeah, that's far enough out and at a time that's a weird time. March is that month that comes right after February, which is also that month. No offense to anyone born in either of those months, but they're kind of the doldrums. Like February is the definition of the winter doldrums. Holidays are done. Where I work, Martin Luther King Day is done and Inauguration Day will be done. And it'll be like, it's February. But who knows? Maybe this February will be more exciting than usual. And hopefully it's not, because we don't need any more excitement, do we? I don't think so. Tom Butler. See you there, Bob. Oh, awesome, Tom. Okay. I know a Tom Butler, and I can see from the picture you're not that Tom Butler. And I don't think that Tom Butler would watch this show anyway. So I look forward to meeting you, Tom. Here's the thing though. And this goes for Tom and it goes for everybody else. I have gotten to know and love many of you just from our conversation here, yours written, me just blabbing. But oddly enough, I feel close to a lot of people, but I don't know what you look like. So if you see me at Blade Show or anywhere else and you recognize me, and I don't recognize you, come say hi and tell me who you are. And I would love to meet all of you. I think I love that. That's happened numerous times at Blade Show in Atlanta. And someone will say, Bob, and I'll look and I don't recognize them. And they're like, I'm so-and-so. I'm like, oh my gosh, name to a face. And I get to shake their hand, get to hang out, get to talk knives, get to show off what we've gotten. yeah, I really value that. So be sure to do that if you see me, and you will see me because I'm going to be there. I'm putting it down. I'm like recording it, making a record of it. Now I have to go. Yeah. All right. Let me show you some other cool stuff. What else do I have? Oh, this thing is cool. So a company called Sanctum. This is a embryon. It's not, I don't know if it's embryonic, maybe just freshly fledged company designer. I don't know if I can use his name, so I'm not going to, but I'll use his brand name. Sanctum sent me this to check out, and I'm not sure who I'm sending it along to afterward, but it is really cool, quite innovative, and beautifully made. And it's here you can see Sanctum, and it's a pry bar pocket tool with a beautiful little blade in it. Check that out. This piece is S35VN. You have a little cap lifter. You've got a gorgeous little wickedly sharp Wharncliffe or sheep's foot, whatever you want to call that. And then little lightning holes and a clip for, I believe this is a tension clip that keeps it inside of this very cool casing, titanium casing. And this, by the way, appears to be Ultim, that spacer, very nicely jimped. You got a pry bar on this side, and then you have a smaller pry bar on this side. And when I first got it, I had this out, and I'm thinking, well, who would use a pry bar on that side? You're going to cut and then I realized, oh, you can use that pry bar when it's nestled in its titanium handle, because it fits very nicely in there and it's not coming out. And especially if you're doing something like this where the force would be headed back onto it, nothing's happening there to make it come out. There is a maker's mark, or more like a company logo there, that teardrop or blood drop or whatever it is, liquid drop. And there's a place for a lanyard or a fob, and then of course it's got a clip, much like the who made the chisel, the razzle. It's like a John Graham. Was that his name? John Graham razzle. How it had the clip on the back end, and so really nicely done. This is just a beautiful little piece. I'm going to do a close-up video on this so people can see it a little closer. Now, I'm not sure if this is just in the prototyping phase. I've spoken very little with this gentleman, or whether it's something that he's trying to get funds together to make, or what. So when I find that out, I'll let you know. My pocket pry bar's name is the SR1 Lite. Very nice. Craig is, of course, referring to the small SR1 survival rescue knife from Cold Steel. I just had my SR1 out tonight. You're like, big deal. Stephen Clayton Jr. says, mark your calendars for 7 December at 7 p.m. TKL Knives is dropping his collaboration with Tactical Tavern, Tomas Alas, the Agent 007. Yes, that is a cool looking Tonto. Long, slender, Americanized Tonto. Very, very nice. And December 7th, a date which will live in infamy and now just fame. It'll be a great day for knives and a day to remember for other reasons too. Pearl Harbor Day. Stephen, this means when you buy this one, you will have all 7 of them. Is that right? I need to catch up. I only have the 1 and the 2. I have several 1s and 1, 2, and I would like to get the 7, and I would like to get the 5. And I know that there's another one out there that I can't mention that I would like to get. Wink, wink, know what I mean? And that's not my knife. So that's not what I mean by wink, wink, know what you mean. But I bet someone out there does. Anyway, very exciting stuff happening with TKL Knives. And I love to see how Tim and et al. Is just blowing up. I know he can barely keep up with demand, and that is a good problem to have. for a number of reasons. It means business is good. It also means you need to find resources that can help you, and doing that can expand your reach. So I love what TKL Knives here. You know what? Just in honor of TKL Knives, I'm gonna have to pull out the old Agent 001. My favorite TKL knife, but that's not a surprise. I love this thing, especially the way he made it. It's just made so nicely. And working on the handle design with him was great. And then seeing him take my blade design and just, do it and have trouble with it and then figure it out. He had trouble with that medial ridge, the curved medial ridge. And then he worked it out with his machinist at the time and just made an incredible blade out of this. And then he took my handle idea, which, to be honest, is an idea that has been out there with this very dedicated spot to put your thumb and the bird's beak back here. And he just added some finesse and really, really made it great. So I love the Agent series. So all the Agent knives share this handle and then have different blades. And he has collaborated with several other people, such as myself, on the blades. And then a number of them are just him. And you will recognize that. So it's the best series of all time of any knife ever. Is what I'm saying. Stephen Clayton Jr. says, my wife claimed the 005 and 006 hasn't dropped yet. All right. The 005 is the clip point, right? I guess that hasn't dropped yet. But I've seen it. So maybe he showed me at Blade Show. It's a swedgeless clip point, and it looks awesome. Though you know me, I always love a swedge. Did anyone else get the? Oh, sorry. Oh no, it's happening for real. There's no denying. Will B says, did anyone else get the TKL CW folder? It was a Patreon release to help fund the US made folder with, oh yes, that's right, with Wreckman. Mine should be here Saturday. Woo! Nice. No, I did not. I would like to. That's a cool one. It's basically a smaller folding mercenary, right? I love the way that looked, and I also love that he labored over it for so long. I love that when knife makers don't just like pop out with something, but they really work to perfect it. My CW folders should arrive on Saturday. Oh man, you snooze, you lose. I should have gotten on that. Oh well, there will be more, and I will get those too. James Hart, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I know what you mean. Yes, I grew up with Monty Python too. That's funny. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Todd Carr says, Craig Vincent, the SR1 is definitely a pry bar with an edge. Same with the K-bar, BK2, and SE5. What I love about the SR1 is that swedge is zero ground. So even with that high traction coating on it, it's still, you can still, break metatarsals with it. You can leave a nasty gash with that swedge. Now, I would imagine that the one without the black traction coating, I can't remember what the steel is. Maybe it's 3V, but it doesn't make sense for that. Or maybe it's the Sanmai version, the expensive version of the SR1 without the coating. I bet that swedge is just like on, say, a Trailmaster, where you could really do some damage with it. Paul Mills says, I had no idea TKL had a folder. I'll have to check it out. Oh, yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's big. I think it's about a 4-inch blade, button lock. It's got it's got sort of the grenade texture. That's these divots here, but it's like a cross between the grenade texture and an Anzo pattern. Would you say that's a fair characterization, Stephen and Will? Let me know. Craig Vincent says, Bob, I don't think I've ever heard you weigh in on chef or kitchen knives. Do you collect them as well? Well, I have weighed in a bit on them. I have, for years, I really prized my Shun knives, made by Kai USA, the company that owns Kershaw and ZT, with these sort of Damascus look blades. Those were our wedding knives, and the big chef's knife is great. Everything else I could never quite, and the bread knife is great. And the slicer, which I never use, is always sharp. But some of the more utility knives, And then I have a Wusthof trident that I always loved, but in retrospect, it's pretty damn thick. And then I got the Vosteed Morgan sent to me by Vosteed. That was their first knife when they first came out. Was a chef's knife, the Morgan. It's got kind of a goofy handle looking, but then it feels great in hand. And the blade is awesome. It's VG10, and I believe it's clad VG10. Very, very nice. And then after that, and this kind of spoiled me, and this is no going back from this, Steve Culinary custom knives. I have 3 of them. 2 of them in high carbon steel, a chef's knife in high carbon, and a paring knife that's amazing in high carbon. They're both very thin and super sharp. When they're dull, you can still glide through an onion, for instance. They're so sharp and so thin. And then, but my daughters and my wife didn't like the patina. They think it's gross for some reason. They think like it looks like you don't wash your knives. And so I got one of his, a smaller chef's knife. It's about 8 inches, made of AEBL, I believe it is, but a stainless chef's knife from him. And those are the 3 knives. Those Steve Culinary custom knives are really the ones that we use all the time. And the Morgan comes out, Vosteed comes out if the others, I don't know, are being used or are dirty or something, but I clean them and put them back on the rack right away. So yeah, that Vosteed doesn't get much play. But Steve Culinary, a lot of you might know him as Super Steel Steve, a very vocal Knife World guy, a fellow Paisan. And man, that guy is not afraid to speak his mind. And I love that about him. He's just a great guy. But I think some people might require a little getting to know him. He might be abrasive or turn people off. But it's interesting because his character seems rough. He's not. He's not like, his character is great, but then you see his knives, they're so refined, they're so well done. And he spent years and years and years as a chef and as a cook, line cook and stuff. And so as he was kind of getting spooled up to be a knife maker, he was making knives and getting them in the hands of kitchen guys who were banging them around. And he learned a lot there. And he's a heat treat fanatic and a geometry snob. And all those things come together to make really outstanding kitchen knives. And they're reasonably priced. I don't know if they still are or if he was giving me friend prices, but they're reasonably priced. I would definitely check out SCC, Steve Culinary Customs. Follow him on Instagram. He's been doing a lot of kind of EDC fixed blades lately, but and he's got dealers now, but I still think that kitchen knives are a big part of his bread and butter. So highly, highly recommend Steve Culinary Custom Knives for all the reasons I just laid out. Have a Knife Day says, a nod is a good thing and a wink to a blind bat. All right. Okay, so I don't know that one. I was Monty Python adjacent. I've seen most of the movies and like them. And actually now they make me laugh more than they did when I was watching them. But a lot of my friends in high school were really into Monty Python. Will B says, I love the thing about, well, I don't want to talk about it here. Will B says, yeah, it's a folding mercenary. Tim is such a perfectionist in things that it's not surprising it took so long to get the way he wanted. Well, not only that, but he didn't have much of a mind for folders. He's always been a very fixed blade guy. And when he decided to make a folder, he was, I don't want to say starting from ground zero, but his jumping off point was different because he wasn't already he didn't really have much of an opinion or much preference in terms of folders. So it took a while. And I love that too. The photos I've seen of the folders have almost the same patterns as his fixed blades. Okay. All right. So that grenade texture, those little divots. And by the way, those really, really add, I think they look cool personally. Looks mean a lot to me when it comes to a knife, but man, they feel good and they really, really lock you in very, very nicely. That sounds right for the CW folder. Okay. So some varying opinions, but just about right. James Hart says, yes, kitchen knives. I have a collection of Green River knives from the 80s. Oh, yeah, you mentioned them, and I looked them up. 1095 high carbon steel. They take and hold a great edge. That's all I need, says James Hart. Wait, but James, in a kitchen knife, do you also need thin? I personally prefer thin, but do you need thin? I didn't think I needed thin, like that Trident, the Wusthof, that I have is a nice 10-inch chef's knife, beautiful knife. I remember when I bought it 20 some years ago, it was expensive, and I really wanted the real wide one where you can scoop up more ingredients after you're done cutting it, but I couldn't find it, and probably if I could, I couldn't afford it anyway. But now, like, to me, last time I used that, which hasn't been in a long time, I remember thinking, "Ooh, this is so thick." So James, I'm curious, does geometry matter to you, or even more thinness of blade stock? An American Father says, "I just recently passed my classic Shun onto my son. That knife, and the Sabatier. I love Sabatiers. I think a knife that my grandma gave me is a Sabatier, but I can't tell. Served me well for many years through many kitchens," said an American Father. So let me ask you, sir, did your Sabatier, was it a carbon steel, and did it have a nice patina? That was the first chef's knife I ever saw with a patina, and didn't know why, but I liked it. That was before I really knew much. Knife Nut 69. Good to have you, sir. Hey, Bob and Junkies. Oh, I thought that was Creature from the Black Lagoon. I don't have my glasses on. Very cool. Pete Davidson, good to have you here, man. Thursday Night Knives. Say no more. How's it going, blokes? I like being called a bloke. It's so out of the ordinary for me. It's going great. How you doing? Hey, Mr. In Between, did you ever watch that show? I watched it here. I love it. It's so good. Australian show from like 2019 through 2022 or something like that. At least Australian made, but it was on our FX channel here. So good. I really like that show. Dimmies. Let's go get some dimmies. I'm like, what are dimmies? Is that dim sum? Great show. Anyway, Roman M. Hey guys. Well, hello, Roman. It's good to have you here, man. I always thought Roman was a cool name. James Hart says, Green River knives are all thin and for food prep. So that's all you need. Wide? Yes, they are wide, but a good thin, sharp edge. Oh, man. I'm all about the body functions tonight. Sorry, guys. It's this getting sick thing. But I do like that. I like the wideness on a chef's blade. The Steve Culinary Customs, the two chef's knives we have. We have the two chef's knives, one stainless, one and then one carbon and longer, and then but they're nice and wide. They give a lot of room to scoop up and drop down. Knife Nut 69 says, I've had my Victorinox 10-inch chef knives for almost 8 years. Hard to beat for the money. Oh, I bet. I love Victorinox, and then they do some of these knives that are beyond the Swiss Army knife, and one forgets about them because I'm so wrapped up in the Victorinox Swiss Army knives that you forget that the other knives they're going to make are pretty damn good. They've released some fixed blade not that long ago, Victorinox. I think it was more of an outdoors blade, but what am I talking about? Yeah. Well, I have Victorinox fruit knives, the little fruit knives. Those are great. And where I got that, it was at a Wegmans, and this Wegmans used to sell Victorinox. Wegmans is a grocery store if you're in a different part of the world or country. And for a while, they had the Victorinox chef's knives there for sale. Now they don't sell Victorinox at all at my particular one. But I always remember thinking I wanted to get one and then carve grind a swedge into it and make it into a kind of a Bowie knife. I don't know why I wanted to do that, but I knew that the fruit knives that I had were so good that the chef's knife was going to be as good and probably easy to work with in terms of me modifying it. But I never got around to do that, and then they stopped selling them there. So Pete Davidson, my father's sabatier, carbon steel, that he did his apprenticeship with, sits proudly on display. Oh, that's cool. I use my own sabatier knives every day. Great knives. All right, I gotta get one. I gotta get one. I know my grandma gave me something, but I'm not sure what it is. And then my mom gave me something that looks like a sabatier, but it was released by LL Bean. So it's kind of a camp chef's knife, and it's got a longer handle, like a walnut handle. It's a little bit longer, but it kind of has the same vibe. My sabatier, says an American father, had a patina when it was passed down to me. Still does today. Unfortunately, a young cook that I hired on his third day of work grabbed it from my board and quickly dropped it. You son of a... You know what, man? That's unforgivable. Straight into the deep fryer, sir. You're like, I didn't work in a restaurant with a deep fryer. I was working with a sabatier knife. No, I'm sure all kitchens have deep fryers, but that sucks, man. And I know he grabbed it because I know you're not handing him that knife. You're taking something off the wall and giving it to him. An American father, I'm still cursing under my breath right this minute. That son of a bitch. It's I'm going to take him. I'm going to turn him hamburger meat. Yeah, man, that would drive me nuts. That's one reason for everyone to carry 2 knives on them. And if you're going to your job in the kitchen and you're bringing your knife in your little knife case, then bring an extra one. I think that's a Chicago cutlery or something like that. Or what was that Spanish one with the white plastic handle? Yeah. And then someone asked for a knife. Yeah, you can use this one. And by the way, sharpen it before you... No, on second thought, don't touch that edge. You can cut with it. Just give it back to me when you're done. And don't drop it. An American father, he didn't come back for a second shift. Well, good. That's what he deserved. I had this experience. I did a lot of waiting. Roman M says, has anyone tried a Prince Custom Protean? Actually, someone who 5-door just was carrying one today. He commented, yeah, so ask 5-door about it. Those are beautiful. But I waited tables, and I was also spent some time as a pantry guy. You know, Mark Ridgewell, good to have you here, sir. Hey, fellas, he says. So making salads, preparing desserts, doing a lot of prep cutting boxes of mushrooms and cleaning chicken. I hated cleaning chickens, all that kind of stuff. And so it was fun, and I got to really like my own knives, special knives that I would take off, try and stash so no one else would use them. But then I was a waiter for quite a bit, and I got a job in Philadelphia at this like really nice Italian restaurant. It was, no one cares, but it was like 18th and Walnut or something like that back in the day, right across the street from where a friend of mine lived. And looking back, there must have been a mafia place. It was really nice. But I remember the night I showed up, the guy's like, what, you couldn't iron your shirt? And I was like, oh shit, this is not going to go well. And he gave me a little bow tie to wear. And then he's like, okay, take this to table 7. And I'm looking, and all the waiters, they're all like old timers, and they're carrying giant trays with like many dishes on them. And I was used to just carrying 3 plates at most, 2 in one hand, one perched up here on the pinky and the forearm, 1 in the hand, and then 1 here at the places I had worked before. And this was like totally different. And I remember looking at the guy like, I'm not even going to attempt to take that tray up those stairs. I am not about to drop this and like totally. And I was just like, this is totally not going to work out. And he's like, yeah, I don't think it will. And I was like, I left in disgrace, but at least I didn't disgrace myself further. I was like, you got to know your limitations. And if I were going to make a career out of that, and that's no joke, fine dining restaurants, people make a damn nice living being waiters, but that's kind of a rare thing. And for me, I wasn't about to try. Not at that place. I was like, I don't even know if I could lift those trays above my head in those days. I was drinking a lot of wine and I was an art student. So that might give you an indication of my physical prowess at the time. That was before I started martial arts. Pete Davidson said, if you can find an old sabatier, get it. They are so useful and not too hard to restore. They might not look flashy like Victorinox, but they work like Victorinox. Oh, very nice. Yeah, they do. And they have, if you guys notice that some carbon steel blades have a certain smell. And if I don't know, some of them might even leave a flavor and, might even affect the flavor of the food you're cutting. Or maybe what I was using wasn't legit. Who knows? Maybe I was using a fake. But yeah, I've noticed that on some carbon steel blades, just like a little bit of a smell with the patina, like a metallic smell, not like a food smell. Paul Mills, Bob DeMarco, how many knives do you normally carry? Just curious. I usually carry two, just two. Well, Paul, I usually carry three, and then I have one. So three being, I almost always have a fixed blade knife. Every once in a while, I don't carry a fixed blade knife. Like on regular days, like work days, or your average weekend day, but like every work day, it's kind of, I'm in the usual habit of fixed blade, front right pocket tactical folder of some sort, or a large modern folder, and then a slip joint in one of the pockets. And that covers me, or makes me feel covered. I don't hardly need any of them, but the slip joint does most of the work around people at work. But on some days, like errand days, the errand running days on the weekend, which are times I should probably be the most armed, going to all different places in public, I will often be like running around, just stuff something in my pocket. And it's always something good, something from my collection. But usually it's something I had from the night before sitting on the dresser, and it goes in the pocket and I'm off. And then during the day, I'm like, oh my God, I only have one knife. And then I'm in my car. I have backups here. I've got a big Bowie knife. I've got the roach belly over there. I got the rapid fire over there. And, I can cover my bases if I need to carry more. So Paul, on the best days, on my best knife days, which are work days, 3 knives, and then a fourth, an emotional support knife, something that I'll keep on my desk just to flip. Like today, my emotional support knife was the Pony Stout. Oh, that right thumb. And one reason I love this so much is that it doesn't recognize the fact that I'm opening it with my left hand. It just works great no matter what. I love this knife. So this will probably sit on my desk, and at work, if it's on my desk, it's under a paper or a notebook, because I'll pop up and I'm always getting up out of my chair and going to different spots in the office. But so things get covered up. I don't need anyone with sticky fingers walking by, though I know everyone that I work with, and no one's. But if there happens to be a stranger in the office, or just also, I don't need people seeing knives on my desk. Where I work, I just don't need that kind of attention. So yeah, I like to have 4 with me, and then there's some in my bag and that kind of thing. But on my person, it's usually 3. Did you go to AIP for art? No. Art Institute, Philadelphia. No, I went to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts there. And I went at undergrad, I went to school in upstate New York. But Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts was great school. But I was getting into filmmaking at the time, and they were the first art school in the United States, and they're very focused on the fine arts. I'm sure at this point they have all sorts of modern stuff, but I remember at the time being like, really? You don't even have photography here? And they're like, yeah, you knew what you were getting into. And I was like, yeah, but when I was getting into it, I wasn't into photography. Now I want to be. So painting, drawing, sculpture, printmaking, maybe textiles, but that was probably a little too hippy dippy for them. It was a great school, great experience, and hard road to hoe. Gotta say, man, if you want to be a painter for a living, you better know some people. Pete Davidson says carbon steel does not react with some food. Oh, leaving black marks. Oh, I'm sorry. Carbon food does react with some foods, leaving black marks on the food. If this is the case, I just switched to the stainless steel blade. Okay. Pete, are you a culinary professional as well? Todd Carr says, many an old hickory 7-inch chef knife in 1095 with pinned wooden handles were turned into bushcraft knives back in the day. Bushcraft knife on the super cheap. That's funny, Todd, because I don't know if they're still making the old hickories, but at some point in the last 5 years, 5 to 7 years, they were selling old hickories. I think the 5 and the 6-inch, the butcher style ones that look kind of like pirate swords or whatever. They were selling those with sheaths, with the leather sheath. And yeah, I always wanted to get one, never did. And now I can't really find them. Ghost Keeper says, just grabbed a Concept Fenrir Damascus. Those are so cool. Tie shredded carbon fiber for $128. Been waiting one for years. Too good of a deal to pass. On BSW 50 for $50 off Concepts, over $100, I believe. What's BSW 50? I don't know what that is. Sorry. But that Fenrir is cool because that's the knife where the bolster is bigger than the smaller bit, right? Ed, sticky fingers. Yes, Ed. Oh, wait. What are you referring to? Sticky fingers. Are you referring to the guy who snags your knife in the kitchen? Pete Davidson says 10-inch Sabatier or Victorinox would also be a must if I could only have one knife. If it could feed me, shelter me, and defend me if need be. Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Ed, sticky fingers. What did I say that before? I'm trying to figure out why you said. I went to Art Institute of Pittsburgh, says an American father. That's cool because there's an art institute in Philadelphia, and it's on Broad Street, or it was when I was there, and it was in this big neoclassical building, and it always had hot girls sitting on the steps, and I had to walk from where I lived at the very northern reach of South Philly north to get to where I was going, and I'd always walk by the Art Institute and be like, oh yeah, check out all those hot art chicks. Tom Butler says, I can't even draw a good stick figure. Well, you might be surprised. Look at the doodles in the margins of your legal pad at work or whatever, wherever you doodle. And I bet that those are pretty awesome. Fed Harrison, nice to see you here, Fed. Hey, Bob and Jim, carrying my Heathen custom fixed blade made by Shane, Edgy American Blades. Dude, that's awesome. I love Shane. He's such a great guy, and I love that he's working his ass off on making knives, and he's been putting out some really cool looking stuff. I need to get one in hand. Bless Knives, good to have you here. Speaking of Shane, Shane's the guy who told me to get in touch and check out Bless Knives, and he'll be coming on the show in the offing here. I'm very, very much looking forward to that. Check out Bless Knives on Instagram. He's got some really cool handmade custom folders. I mean, they are beautiful. And as far as Shane goes, he told me that they're also outstanding knives, not just cool looking. Pete Davidson says, been a chef for the last 25 years and an edged weapons collector for the last 45. In the blood. Pete, we're cut from the same cloth, sir, except I haven't been a chef for 25 years. I just like cooking. Ed says, yeah, just people with sticky fingers at work. Oh, that's what I said. Yeah, right. I lost a Spyderco Dragonfly that way. Oh, man. And then you look at all your coworkers and you're like, hey, can you cut this piece of string for me? And then you see how they're going to do it. No, I can't. Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure it's you who took it. Nasty, nasty person. Paul Mills says, I have one edgy American knife, and he's making me a second. I need to get on that. I need to get one from him. Oh, I know he's been working like every night. I know it's like a reprieve from life for him, and that's what we all find. You know, that's what many of us find in our creative hobbies and our creative pursuits. Sorry, is that that flow state, and you can kind of just turn everything off. Five Door says, +1 on an edgy American fixed blade, the neck roll. Is that the name of one? I love it. The neck roll. That is funny. I think you've witnessed me go from I think I'm getting sick to I think I'm sick, which we're about to have a bunch of 10-year-old girls here for a birthday party sleepover tomorrow. Oh, God. James Hart says, yeah, edged weapons. I've been collecting knives and swords, hatchets and axes, wood and combat type. Oh, yeah. Since the early 80s. It's an addiction. All right, James, before I say goodnight, James, tell me what your favorite hatchet is for like outdoorsy stuff. I have a Helco Werk. I like it, but I would like to get something else too. Edgy is on the up and up, says Blessed Knives. He is. We had a real straight talking conversation the first time we met, and I was like, I like this dude. Matthew says, good evening, Bob. Matthew, it's good to have you here. Good evening, Bob, and everyone. Pleasure to be here. I just put some titanium scales on my 80 20.5. Turned out nice. That sounds awesome. Are those the original goat? So sweet. I love that knife with the titanium scales. Ed says, oh, I have one pretty good idea of who it is, but oh well, no way to prove it. Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe you leave another Spyderco out, but you have some sort of trap for him, like one of those traps, and then you walk in and he's like hanging upside down from his ankle. He's like, cut me down. And you're like, no, you cut yourself down, because I know you just stole my knife. Neck roll is my name for it. Roman M says, drink some whiskey, you feel better. Funny thing is I looked that up at work. I'm like, does whiskey make you feel better when you have a cold? And everything I looked up was like, no, it'll dehydrate you and all this stuff. And I came home and I poured myself a little whiskey, and I just finished it when we started the show. And I also had a hot toddy, so that's 2 whiskeys. That hot toddy was nice. Lemon, honey, tea, whiskey. It's a great combo. Pat D's Nuts says, the hot art chicks were always present when I was a valet at Ruth's Chris. Oh, nice. Right up the street, right? There was a Ruth's Chris, and I went there once because a friend's parents took us there, and this was in the 90s. So somewhere between 93 and 95 or 93 and 97 or so. And when you were done, you could just smoke cigars. They'd come around with a box of cigars, a humidor, and you could buy one and just sit there right there like a lord and smoke your cigar. I thought that was cool then. Now I think it's so cool because those days are gone. James Hart, oh, well, for the light duty work, I like my cold steel Hudson Bay Tomahawk. Oh, very nice. Okay. I have a couple of Tomahawks from them, and I haven't even considered using them as like wood tools because I think of them as fighting tools. And I mean, there was a way, but I mean, there was a way, but that would have left me without a knife and no job. Yeah. Yep. Not worth the job. An American Father says, get a council tool woodcraft pack axe. Ooh. All right, writing it down. Oh, council tool. Okay. Pack axe. All right, guys. I think I got to go. Maybe I will have a little dram before bed. For heavier work, I just use a felling axe I bought at the hardware store. Yeah, I have found that though I like my Helco Werk, it looks cool. And it has a beautiful leather sheath on it. Love brown knives. Got 4. Nice. but this very cheap hatchet I got from Home Depot is just awesome. Tom Butler, bourbon always makes you feel better. Yeah, no doubt. Except maybe sometimes in the morning. Tequila shot and Vicks chest rub. Woo! Ugh, tequila just brought back memories. Craig says, Bob, there is a plant medicine called andrographis. Andrographis works great for knocking out colds before they get bad. The government of India issues it to the population during flu season. I use it. Oh, okay, cool. All right, I'm going to have to check that out. Matthew, hope you feel better. Thank you, sir. I will. This is one of those little BS colds. Hope you feel better, Bob, says Fed. Thank you, Fed. I appreciate it, man. Craig says you can get it online or at a health food store. Andrographis. It's in the brain now. I repeated it 4 times. Andrographis. And I'll get some cute hippie chick at Whole Foods to get it for me. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always awesome talking with you all. I'm sorry that I promised a guest who he's a busy man. He's got a big drop tomorrow, so don't forget the auxiliary manufacturing coffin line is dropping tomorrow. I got mine. You should go get yours. Collect all 12. All right, guys. For Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying, until next time, don't take dull for an answer.